All right, let's go back to where it all began. August 1997. Honda introduced the EK9, and man, it was revolutionary. This wasn't just a Civic with a sporty badge, it was a transformation of the Civic SIR into something truly special. It was lightweight, stiff, and ready to rumble. Under the hood was the now legendary 1.6-liter B16B VTEC inline-4 engine. Get this, it made 182 horsepower at an insane 8,000 RPM. That kind of power per liter was unmatched for 2 decades. The engine's high power output from a small displacement and its high rev limit made it legendary. And the VTEC? Its distinct, almost violent transition to the high-lift cam profile became a signature feel of the early Type Rs. It wasn't just a technical spec, it was a sensory experience that defined the car's character and became a core part of its appeal. It was actually designed with a racetrack in mind. It weighed just 2,400 pounds, making it incredibly nimble. Honda also threw in a close-ratio 5-speed manual transmission with a helical limited-slip differential for maximum traction. This was pure, unadulterated driving pleasure. Inside, it was all business. Recaro seats, bright red floor mats, and a Momo steering wheel. This initial lack of basic amenities clearly indicated an uncompromising focus on performance and weight reduction. The iconic championship white paint with red Honda badges became synonymous with Type R. Later, a Type RX model was introduced in 1999, and it added some creature comforts like a CD player, power windows, air conditioning, and keyless entry. This showed a slight shift towards daily usability, suggesting an early tension between raw performance and daily livability that would continue through later generations. The EK9 was a JDM-only affair, which only added to its mystique for those outside Japan. This exclusivity created an aura of forbidden fruit for international enthusiasts. It quickly became a legend, considered the ultimate version of one of the most popular tuning platforms of all time. Its value has been shooting up ever since, a direct ripple effect of its initial limited availability, making it highly desirable today. Here's what I think. This is where the soul of Type R truly began. It was raw, it was loud, and it demanded to be driven hard. For pure driving thrills, you won't believe how good it still feels today, even at a bargain price for miles per gallon. It's a shame we don't get cars this analog anymore. Next up, the EP3, which landed in 2001. This was a big one because it marked the Type R's expansion to international markets. Under the hood, we got the 2-liter K20AI VTEC engine. The European version, with the K20A2, made around 197 horsepower. But the JDM version? That was the real gem, pumping out 212 horsepower. Honda gave the JDM version a fully balanced crankshaft, different intake exhaust manifolds, high-lift cams, high-compression pistons, and a few other things. The European version, on the other hand, had a more relaxed gear ratios. Honda's decision to compromise the European version, likely for cost-effectiveness and a broader market appeal, led to a mixed reception. This created a clear hierarchy in the community, with the JDM model being highly sought after and the EDM often looked down on, despite still being a capable car. The JDM version did 0 to 60 miles per hour in a brisk 5.8 seconds, while the EDM took around 6.5 seconds. Top speeds were 146 miles per hour for JDM and 141 for EDM. Also, the EDM version didn't even get the helical limited slip differential as standard. This was a big talking point among enthusiasts. Visually, the EP3 had a distinct bread van shape, which definitely divided opinions. Inside, the red Recaro seats were absent in the EDM, though the JDM version kept them. The interior also featured a lot of silver plastic that wouldn't look too out of place on a knockoff Walkman clone. In 2003, Honda gave it a facelift with revised electric power steering, suspension tweaks, and a lighter clutch, aiming to fix issues like understeer and numb steering. The EP3 had the tough job of following the legendary EK9 and the Integra Type R. It launched during a golden era for Japanese performance vehicles, so expectations were pretty high. Reviews were a bit mixed. Some loved its practicality and reliability, calling it one of the greatest hot hatches ever built and a future classic. Others criticized its shocking turning circle and that it could be too harsh as a daily driver. It's often misunderstood, but I think it's still a great car, especially the JDM version. It might have looked a bit quirky, but the K20 engine was an absolute joy to rev out. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. So this generation, launched in 2007, was a real curveball. Honda decided to split the Type R into two very different cars, the FD2 for Japan and the FN2 for Europe and other international markets. It was a bold move, and it created a lot of debate among fans. For Japan, Honda gave us the FD2, the first Type R to be a four-door sedan. This thing was hardcore. It packed a 2-liter K20AI VTEC engine, pushing out nearly 222 horsepower at 8,000 RPM and 159 pound-feet of torque. It had a close ratio 6-speed manual and a helical limited-slip differential as standard, plus massive Brembo brakes. Honda also claimed that the chassis was about 50% more rigid than the Integra Type R. It was a true track monster, proving 1 second quicker than the Integra Type R at the Tsukuba circuit and 4 seconds faster at the longer Suzuka circuit. The fact that it was faster than the Integra Type R on track and hailed as retaining 75% of the EK9 feel highlights Honda's willingness to create a no-holds-barred performance car for its home market. Meanwhile, for Europe and other markets, we got the FN2, a 3-door hatchback with a completely different chassis. It had a 2-liter K20Z4i VTEC engine, making 198 horsepower. Big controversial change? The rear suspension swapped from a double wishbone to a less complex torsion beam axle. It was also about 220 pounds heavier than the EP3, with no power increase. The VTEC engagement was actually lowered from 6,000 RPM to 5,000, making the power more accessible. All of these compromises led to significant criticism from reviewers like Top Gear and Evo magazine, earning it the reputation as the worst Civic Type R ever made. This ugly duckling perception highlights how design and engineering compromises, even if for practical reasons, can significantly impact a car's reception, despite it being the last naturally aspirated Type R. The FD2, however, was well received in Japan, but its production ended in 2010 due to emissions. The FN2, while selling over 12,000 units in the UK and even being exported to Japan, faced a lot of flack. Top Gear initially praised its controls, but later slammed its chassis and weight. Evo magazine said it falls short dynamically against rivals like the Ford Focus, Vauxhall Astra, and the Golf GTI. For me, the FD2 was a true spiritual successor to the EK9. The FN2, on the other hand, was a stylish, futuristic hatch, but those compromises really hurt its reputation. What do you guys think? Did the FN2 deserve all that hate? Here's where things got really interesting. After a brief gap, Honda dropped a bombshell in 2015 with the FK2. This was the first ever turbocharged Type R. It was a huge departure from the high-revving, naturally aspirated engines we knew and loved, and it definitely got people talking. This shift to turbocharging was actually a direct response to increasing power demands and emissions regulations. Under the hood was the 2-liter K20C1 turbocharged inline-4 engine. It churned out 306 horsepower and a whopping 295 pound-feet of torque. That's a huge jump in torque compared to the old ones. The red line dropped to 7,000 RPM, which was a shock for some VTEC purists, but it made sense with the turbo. This massive increase in torque made it significantly faster, while still maintaining its front-wheel drive dominance. This was a critical step in Type R's global competitiveness. The FK2 was fast. Honda claimed a 0 to 60 time of 5.7 seconds, making it the first Type R to drop into the 5-second range, and its top speed jumped to 168 miles per hour. And get this, it snatched the Nürburgring lap record for front-wheel drive cars, being 2 seconds faster than a Lamborghini Gallardo. The return of the helical mechanical limited slip diff was instrumental in this. Honda also introduced a special front strut design to combat torque steer, preventing the wheel from ripping out of the driver's hands. Visually, the FK2 was, well, it was a lot. It had an aggressive Gundam robot look. It definitely looked like a race car for the road. The styling was pretty divisive, but it was undeniably functional. It had a short production run, only 2 years, and was primarily sold in the UK with limited exports to Japan. It never officially came to the US. Despite its incredible performance and Nürburgring record, it never got the attention it deserved, largely overshadowed by its successor, the FK8. Its main hot hatch competitors were the Golf R, Ford Focus RS, Hyundai i30N, and even the Audi S3. I believe the FK2 was a necessary evolution, proving that a front-wheel drive car could handle serious turbocharged power and dominate on track. I personally wasn't a big fan of its aggressive looks, but it screamed performance. It was a proper driver's car, more alive than most of the competition. What do you guys think? Too wild or just right? So, if the FK2 was the turbocharged awakening, the FK8 was the global conquest. This was the first Type R to be a truly global car, explicitly designed for markets like the US and Canada, where the standard Civic hatchback was already available. It kept the fantastic K20C1 turbocharged inline-4 engine from before. Power was bumped up to 316 horsepower in Europe and Japan, while other markets still got 306 horsepower. It also got an 18% lighter flywheel for snappier throttle response. This thing was a rocket, boasting a top speed of 169 miles per hour, making it the fastest Type R model to date at its launch. The FK8 didn't just talk the talk, it walked the walk. On April 2017, a pre-production model set a new front-wheel drive record at the Nürburgring with a blistering 7:43 lap time, nearly 7 seconds faster than its predecessor. It also set records at other iconic circuits like Magny Cours and Silverstone. Reviewers praised its steering precision, flawless body control, and near-endless grip, comparing it to the Porsche GT3 of the hot hatch world. It kept the aggressive styling, but it felt more cohesive than the FK2. The interior was also a big step up, with a low driving position, high-mounted shifter, and the classic red and black sports seats. It was praised for its livability, quiet, comfortable, and practical for a hot hatch. The FK8 was a critical darling, winning Hot Hatch of the Year in 2017 from Top Gear magazine. Its global availability and ability to compete favorably with all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive rivals cemented its reputation as a benchmark in the performance car segment. Here's what I think. The FK8 was the one that truly cemented the Type R as a global hot hatch king. It was ridiculously fast, handled like a dream, and you could actually drive it every day without feeling like you were being punished. It redefined what a modern hot hatch could be. And finally, we arrive at the latest chapter, the FL5, launched in 2022. Honda took a different approach with the styling here, giving it a far less aggressive design compared to the FK8. Its less aggressive design and more mature styling are clearly a response to the FK8's polarizing looks, aiming for broader appeal. The FL5 still uses the familiar 2-liter turbocharged K20C1 engine, but Honda made some clever incremental changes, like a revised turbocharger with a more compact housing and optimized turbine blades to boost power and to improve airflow. This pushes output to 325 horsepower in Japan and Europe and 316 horsepower in other markets. It's still paired with a glorious 6-speed manual. Even with its more mature looks, the FL5 is still a monster. A pre-production model set a new front-wheel drive lap record at Suzuka Circuit in March 2022, and the 2023 model broke another Nürburgring front-wheel drive record with a time of 7:44. It does 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds and has a top speed of 171 miles per hour. It's been called a superb driving machine and a substantial improvement over the last model. However, some reviewers noted it can feel less engaging at slow speeds or too serious with no drama. This suggests a trade-off. Increased refinement and daily usability usually comes at the cost of the raw, visceral feel that defined earlier Type Rs. This shows a challenge for Honda in evolving the Type R, while retaining its core appeal in an increasingly regulated and a refined automotive landscape. The FL5 is incredibly capable, refined, and still a blast to drive. While some miss the raw theatrics of older models, I think it's a brilliant balance for today's world. So, what do you think of the new look? Is it a step in the right direction, or do you miss the wild FK8?